Good morning, and thank you for joining the WCB's annual general meeting. We'll get started in just a few minutes. This AGM will be recorded and posted on the WCB YouTube channel. We'll have time for questions at the end of the presentation, and you'll be able to submit your questions in the chat. We'll work to get to as many questions as possible. So right now, I'll pass things over to our chair, Gord Doborowski.
Well, thank you, Carolyn, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of my fellow board members, Larry Flowers and Gary Hamlin, I certainly want to welcome you to the Saskatchewan Workers' Compensation Board's AGM. This is one of our most important public accountability events. And thank you so much for your interest in what we do to serve you as employers and workers in Saskatchewan. It is indeed my privilege to be addressing you as the chair of the WCB. Our top priority is always the health and safety of our staff, customers, and partners. Because of the ongoing COVID pandemic in the province and to maintain physical distancing for our attendees, we are using technology to communicate with you, our customers. We urge you to follow Saskatchewan government guidelines on self-monitoring and self-isolation. Protect yourself and your family. Hopefully, we can all get together next year after we all stick it to COVID. I think I am no different than anyone else out there. I love that line, stick it to COVID. So thank you for taking the time to join us this morning. We're here to present our results from 2020, as well as our plans for the future. As a board, our actions are governed by the Workers' Compensation Act 2013, and the WCB has exclusive jurisdiction in Saskatchewan, and we are an independent board fully funded by our employer premiums and investment income. As stewards of the workers' compensation system in Saskatchewan, we take our jobs very seriously. It is our vision at the WCB to eliminate injuries and restore abilities. We will work to achieve our vision through our mission, which is to be a customer-centric organization that continuously seeks to add value for our customers through a culture of continuous process improvement. Our agenda today is meant to give you a high-level overview of our 2020 results, and of course, more in-depth information is available in the annual report and on our website. We will respond to pre-submitted questions that were emailed to us, which we'll read at the end of the session. In just a few minutes, our CEO and members of the WCB's executive team will share the 2020 financial and operational highlights with you. But first, I would like to briefly review the principles that govern our compensation system, the Meredith Principles. The workers' compensation system in Canada, as we know it, has been established through something known as the Meredith Principles. These principles were adopted over 100 years ago, and I believe they are still as valid and important today as they ever were. Reflecting on something known as the historic compromise, the Meredith Principles provide an employer-funded compensation system in exchange for which the workers give up their right to sue. The principles stipulate that the WCB will provide no-fault, mandatory insurance coverage to protect workers from wage loss. Through this no-fault system, employers are protected from legal action arising from a workplace injury and collectively fund the compensation system. We remain totally committed to the Meredith Principles that protect families, employers, and entire communities. All of us here representing the Saskatchewan WCB are extraordinarily proud to be able to help injured workers, their families, and employers when they are affected by a workplace injury. To those of you that attended the Compensation Institute yesterday, we heard from an injured worker from Great Britain, injured in 1993. He had to sue the employer and wait 5 years for benefits. 5 years. No Meredith Principles there. In 2020, 90% of employers achieved 0 injuries and 0 fatalities. That's right, 90. That's incredible. It's a slight increase over 88% in 2019, but this is a huge success and a testament to the safety work being done in our province. So sincere congratulations from the board to all of those employers who achieved that milestone of 0 injuries and 0 fatalities. Again, 90%. Last year, we continued to advance our multi-year strategy on psychological health and safety. We are working with Dr. Jody Samra to implement additional elements of that strategy. Despite the many challenges that the COVID pandemic has presented to us, we are continuing to make real progress in meeting the WCB's vision of eliminating injuries and restoring abilities. In 2008, Saskatchewan had the 2nd highest workplace injury rate in Canada. From that point on, all of us, business leaders, government, workers, and safety associations started to work even harder to bring that number down. Now, thanks to the health and safety efforts of people like you, our workplace injury has dropped by more than 56% from the 2008 to 2020. The workplace total injury rate for 2020 was 4.46%, a 10% drop from the 2019 level. Last year, fewer people and their families were affected because someone was hurt at work. Employers, workers, safety leaders, and labor unions all around the province, people like you, have worked diligently to bring our injury rates down. In 2020, our time loss injury rate also decreased to 1.78%, down from the 2019 rate of 1.86%. This represents a reduction of 4.3% from the 2019 rates. The 2020 time loss injury rate is the lowest rate in more than a decade. This is very encouraging, but we cannot become complacent in our efforts to ensure the safety of all Saskatchewan workplaces. But sadly, we lost 34 individuals in work-related deaths last year. Of those, 16 were occupational disease and 18 were from other factors, such as motor vehicle crashes, traumatic events, and heart attacks. Each one of these 34 deaths had a shattering impact on workers' families and communities. As we all know, even one is too many. In December 2019, WorkSafe Saskatchewan launched the 3-year Fatalities and Serious Injuries Strategy. This strategy works to address the high-risk industries, occupations, and the tasks within those industries that are resulting in fatalities and serious injuries. Collaboration with our stakeholders is critical to understanding industry needs and delivering sustainable injury prevention outcomes. By working together on initiatives like this strategy, we can all contribute to bringing our injury rates down and keeping all workers safe on the job. To illustrate the commitment we hope all business owners share, we feel the familiar phrase, on time and on budget, and we've all heard that so many times, on time and on budget. But this should be expanded to say, on time, on budget, with no injuries. We believe that by adding those last 3 words, we are now covering every measure of success, including the health and safety of the people working on those projects. By incorporating those 3 extra words, we're committing to no longer measuring success in strictly financial terms, but also factoring in our shared desire to see every employee return safely to their loved ones at the end of each day. Not too much to ask. In 2020, after 12 consecutive years of decreases, our average premium rate remained at $1.17. This was the same rate as in 2019. In October, although the 2021 premium rate should have been $1.23, this board decided to hold the 2020 rate at $1.17. and the industry level rates were capped at 10%. This board level hold was instituted to provide a measure of economic relief to Saskatchewan businesses struggling with the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Our 2021 premium rate is still the third lowest in Canada. Manitoba is at 95 cents, and Alberta at $1.14. We are able to maintain this position because you are investing time and money into preventing injuries. Injured workers and employers are cooperating with return to work plans. However, we will need to review the actuarial model again before setting the 2022 rates to ensure our system is financially sustainable. So thank you, sincerely, thank you on behalf of the board for your interest in our results and for taking the time to be here this morning. This morning, Bill Germain, our CEO, Crystal Nett, our Chief Financial Officer, Kevin Mooney, our VP of Prevention and Employer Services, and Jennifer Norleen Vitel, VP of Operations, will provide you with an overview and the details of the 2020 results. And we will end the morning with pre-submitted questions that were emailed to us. So with that, again, we really thank you for being with us this morning. And I'll now turn it over to Phil Germain, our CEO. Phil.
Thanks, Gord. And good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here with you today and provide you some of the details of our accomplishments at WCB during 2020. I want to thank each and every one of you who took time away from your work to participate in our AGM. It's very encouraging to have this level of participation. As Gord highlighted in his opening remarks, our vision is to eliminate injuries and restore abilities. The greatest value to our customers and stakeholders is if we're able to prevent all injuries and fatalities. If someone is injured, we want to prevent workplace disability by helping our customers rehabilitate and return to work. We know work can be an important part of the healing process and that workers are better off over the long term when they return to work. We believe that prevention is better than rehabilitation and rehabilitation is better than compensation. We will move forward by working with our customers and partners to make the changes necessary to positively impact our customer service and value to our customers. Our vision of eliminating all workplace injuries and restoring everyone's abilities pre-injury is a long-term view of where we want to be. And our true north keeps us constantly focused on working towards our vision. We believe that by constantly improving these 5 areas of our business, safety, quality, timeliness, people, and financial, we will continuously deliver a better customer experience by improving service and value. As we all know, the COVID-19 pandemic impacted every corner of our province and really the world, and has forced all of us to adjust in order to maintain business continuity, and in some cases, simply trying to stay alive in business. This includes how we are able to serve our customers at the WCB and through the WorkSafe Saskatchewan partnership. Last year, the government of Saskatchewan announced various measures to support provincial business owners during the COVID crisis. To provide further relief for Saskatchewan employers, the WCB introduced additional relief measures for employers who needed additional time to pay their 2020 WCB premiums and because of the COVID pandemic. From April 1st to July 31st, 2020, the WCB waived penalties and interest charges for late premium payments. As well, the WCB removed penalties for late filing, underestimates, and late registration. We provided clearance letters to employers even when contractors' WCB accounts had not been paid. We suspended payroll audits from March to July, except in situations where an employer may be eligible for a refund. We offered payment plans for employers, and we prioritized payroll revisions to help employers reduce premiums. As Gord mentioned, in October, we announced the 2021 premium rate would be held at the 2020 rate of $1.17, and that we capped industry rates at 10%. This board level hold was instituted to provide a measure of economic relief to Saskatchewan businesses struggling with the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Under the WCB's rate model, the 2021 average rate required rate should have been $1.23 per $100 of payroll without the board level hold. The increase determined by our actuarial model was driven by a combination of factors, including the economic slowdown caused by COVID-19 and an increase in compensation and healthcare costs. While the current average premium rate is 43% below our 17-year high of $2.05 in 2004, the average premium rate may rise in 2022 if payroll costs remain low while claims costs continue to rise. This tells us that we all need to do more work on eliminating injuries and fatalities and preventing work disability. To manage exposure to COVID-19 in workplaces, WorkSafe Saskatchewan, the partnership between WCB and the Ministry of Labour Relations and Workplace Safety, created multiple resources for preventative measures. These resources included information on ergonomic hazards, information for working from home, managing mental health, how to conduct a hazard assessment, and how to develop exposure control plans. Through WorkSafe, we offered a free COVID-19 online course that aims to reduce anxiety and offers to help sustain safe workplaces during the pandemic. This is a 40-minute interactive online course that provides you with practical knowledge and training to help keep everyone safe. You can still access this course at worksafesas.ca. In 2020, the WCB accepted 334 compensation claims related to COVID-19. The WCB has focused on mitigating the challenges of managing claims during the pandemic, including gathering necessary information to adjudicate incoming claims and managing return to work plans. The latter required accessing needed medical assessments and treatment programs when the delivery of those services were also struggling. The WCB worked closely and collaboratively with the healthcare provider community to explore a variety of ways to access timely and effective assessments and treatment options. During these challenging times, the WCB also introduced telehealth opportunities for assessment and treatment to support workers impacted by the pandemic restrictions. We extended earning loss and job search benefits because of COVID-19 related delays. We formed a dedicated team of experienced claims staff to work through COVID-19 claims to help speed up the adjudication process and ensure consistency in decisions. We made all COVID-19 claims eligible for cost relief, and we encouraged both employers and workers to report COVID-19 related claims by making sure employers were not held responsible for COVID-19 related claim costs during the pandemic unless they had intentionally violated the Government of Saskatchewan restrictions. I'll now turn it over to Kevin Mooney to provide an overview of safety and prevention programs during 2020. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil, and good morning, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to join us today. In this next section, I'd like to present our efforts to prevent workplace injuries, as the easiest injury claim is the one that never happens. In this next slide, we're showing the raw numbers for the various indicators we track to help us determine if we're having a positive impact on health and safety. From a prevention perspective, we tend to focus on a number of metrics to indicate that our prevention strategies are working. The total change in the total injury rate, time loss injury rate, and the number of claims and fatalities provide us a broader view of whether or not our injury prevention efforts are working well. We want to see all the numbers going down to get a better sense of improvement. Our 2020 cumulative number of external injuries, including self-insured claims and fatalities, is 17% below the 2019 level of 21,945. The total number of workers covered in the province decreased from 402,306 in 2020 from 433,622 in 2019. You'll see from the next few slides that while we made great progress in 2020 compared to 2019, and with the exception of the total injury rate, we are still seeing a flattening out or plateauing of our safety performance. When I say we in this context, I'm meaning the WCB, the Ministry of Labour Relations and Workplace Safety, and other various safety partners in the province. Next slide, please. The WCB accepted 34 fatality claims in 2020 compared to 36 in 2019, which is a decrease of 6%. These fatalities occurred in 28% of the 50 industry rate codes. The chart also illustrates a flat trend line. On average, Saskatchewan has roughly 38 fatalities per year, every year, over the last 10 years. Asbestos accounted for 29% of all workplace fatalities in 2020. Occupational disease-related fatalities decreased to 16 in 2020 from 17 in 2019. 10 were related to asbestos exposure, 5 were firefighter-related cancers, and 1 was a respiratory disease. Traumatic-related fatalities remained at 7 in 2020, same as in 2019. 2 were due to being caught in equipment, 2 were due to being struck by a vehicle, 2 were due to falls, and 1 was due to being struck by equipment. Motor vehicle-related fatalities increased to 7 in 2020 from 4 in 2019. 6 were due to motor vehicle accidents, and 1 was due to being crushed between a vehicle and equipment. Heart attack-related fatalities decreased to 4 in 2020 from 5 in 2019. The WCB and WorkSafe, a partnership between the Ministry of Labour Relations and Workplace Safety, has many partnerships focused on helping to strengthen each of our 4 pillars of our strategy. The safety associations are long-standing partnerships with industry to help address injury prevention in their sector through education, training, and other prevention initiatives. We partner with industries to establish safety associations. Each safety association is governed by a board of directors representing employers and workers from rate codes that fund the association. All safety associations follow a strategic planning process and report on the results against their plans to industry and the WCB. There are currently 7 industry-based safety associations representing 18 industry rate codes. Safety associations are funded through an extra levy on the premium rates of employers with specific rate codes. The safety associations received $11.4 million in WCB funding in 2020, which was up from $11.2 million in 2019. This slide shows the total injury rate performance of the rate codes covered by safety associations, which is the blue bars, versus rate codes not covered by safety associations, which is the gold bar. While historically the safety associations have outperformed the rate codes without safety associations, that trend has reversed during the last few years, as shown by the widening of the blue and gold trend lines. Total injury rates for industries with safety associations have decreased to 4.74% in 2020 from 5.46% in 2016. We continue to engage with all Safety Association boards of directors in implementing the new WCB Safety Association funding policy and finalizing the related funding agreement. In December 2019, WorkSafe Saskatchewan collaborated with employers and labour stakeholders to develop and launch a provincial fatalities and serious injury strategy. This strategy was developed to prioritize and address the high-risk industries, occupations, and the tasks within those industries that are resulting in those fatalities and serious injuries. In 2020, WorkSafe continued to implement initiatives outlined in the Fatalities and Serious Injury Strategy. Through WCB's serious injury definition, analysis indicates that the province of Saskatchewan has approximately 2,500 serious injuries every calendar year. As a result, WorkSafe used this information to focus prevention initiatives going forward until the end of 2021. WorkSafe's focus in 2020 was on the following 8 categories: asbestos exposure, work-related motor vehicle crashes, firefighter cancer exposures, falls from heights, healthcare, transportation, first responders with a focus on psychological injuries, and manufacturing with a focus on hand injury prevention. More details and ongoing reporting of the results regarding the strategy can be found on the WorkSafe website at www.worksafesask.ca. I'll now turn it over to Ray Anthony, Executive Director, Occupational Health and Safety Division from the Ministry of Labour Relations and Workplace Safety, to provide an OH&S update.
Thank you, Kevin. I'd like to thank the board here for the opportunity to speak at your AGM, and I'd like to bring the greetings from our Minister, Don Morgan, and our Acting Deputy Minister, Greg Tour. I'd like to speak briefly about the role of LRWS OHS in the WorkSafe partnership. Essentially, our role is that of the regulator. We enforce Part 3 of the Saskatchewan Employment Act and Part 5, the Radiation Health and Safety Act, and along with it, its associated regulations, the Occupational Health and Safety regulations, the mines regulations, and of course, the Radiation Health and Safety regulations. While we advocate for these as the minimum standard for safety, excuse me, in a workplace, we advocate for best practice in all cases. Slide, please. We generally break inspections down into 2 types. Those are proactive and reactive. Of course, the targeted inspection numbers that you see are proactive. These inspections take place based on data that we actually get from the WCB, where we take into account those employers that are above the provincial average, above their rate code average, and generally have a higher nature of incidents in their workplace. By doing that, we are working with those employers that are driving the incident rate, and it has proven to be quite effective. So that said, about 1,990 proactive inspections were driven last year. The reactive inspections, those that are complaint driven, officer initiated, and those notifications that we get that are legislated, and of course harassment complaints, totaled up to 4,434 worksite visits last year. This is actually down about 10%, but again, it would be remiss of me not to mention COVID, that we had a number of people deployed to the Ministry of Health, SASHWA, to the Saskatchewan Health Association, and some other agencies that needed assistance during this, which diminished our capacity. Along with it, of course, it was a little more difficult to actually perform inspections. But out of the 4,434 inspections, about 1,400 had an element of COVID in them. So having said that, it was not too bad of a year, but again, COVID made it tougher than it should have been. Slide, please. One of the tools that are available to us is we have 12 officers in the division that have been designated as peace officers. These people are eligible to issue any one of 12 summary offense tickets. Essentially, these are used for what we would call IDLH situations, immediately dangerous to life and health, They cover issues such as fall protection, safety in excavations, machine safety, personal protective equipment. Last year, we issued 18 tickets, with 15 of those people being found guilty. 1 is still in progress, and 3 have been stayed or withdrawn by the courts. These tickets are no different in nature than you would get for speeding or perhaps catching too many pickerel. It goes through the provincial court system and is run through the Ministry of Justice. That said, with it, it's average about 20 a year. So 18 is down about 10%. But again, in a year with COVID-19, it's a bit of a strange year. Slide, please. This slide shows our prosecutions. And as you can tell by the numbers, the prosecutions are up. Of course, in 2016, when the Saskatchewan Employment Act was first passed, the fine amounts were increased substantially, and we're beginning to see the effects of that, as normally it takes about 3 years to 4 years to run a case through the provincial court system. This is done. We currently have 2 dedicated prosecutors at the Ministry of Justice, and when files exceed the criteria under section, I'm going to use the old number, section 8 of the old regulations, that is someone being in the hospital for 72 hours as an inpatient, or in the case of fatality, that file is put under review, and the file is sent to the Crown Prosecutor's Office. If the Crown Prosecutors agree with us that there is sufficient evidence to warrant a prosecution, it goes forward and charges are laid by our officers. This year, you can see that the fines are $2,227,800, up substantially, about a 34% increase from previous years. Again, the number of files sent to justice is 26 this year, and the number of prosecutions initiated is 22. Last year, we had 21 convictions. So the prosecutors have been doing a pretty serious amount of work. This results in us being one of the largest contributors to the Victim Impact Fund that the Ministry of Justice carries forward. Slide, please. I'm going to turn it over now to Jennifer, and I'd like again to thank the board for the opportunity to speak here.
Thank you, Ray. In this next section, I will present our quality and timeliness highlights. We know that the longer injured workers rely on WCB supports, the more likely they are to lose earning capacity and suffer other life disruptions. We have a few indicators that help us understand how we're doing in restoring abilities, which are shown on this slide. One of our 2020 operational objectives was to reduce the number of payment defects or recalculations by 25%. We owe our customers defect-free service, and an area that's frustrating for both worker and employer customers is when the WCB needs to recalculate claims payments. This adds stress at an already uncertain time. We ended 2020 with 3,786 recalculations, which is 186 or 5.2% above the target of 3,600. However, this is down just over 1,000 recalculations or 21% from our 2019 results of 4,800. The WCB will continue to work in the areas that will have the greatest impact on reducing these required recalculations. A policy review was initiated in 2020 and will guide the WCB further in moving this work forward. Claims durations, which are the average amount of time missed because of a work injury, is an indicator of the timeliness of our claims processes and how well all the partners work together to support the worker in their recovery and return to work. This includes the employer, worker, union, healthcare providers, and the WCB. The average duration of claims in 2020 was 45.27 days, up from 41.52 days in 2019. This was above our 2020 target of 38 days. While we know that COVID-19 impacted durations by contributing to some delays in accessing treatment and return to work for some workers, we were able to see some reductions in durations for psychological injuries. In March of 2020, the WCB hosted a psychological claims visioning event with customers. The event brought together 30 participants representing injured workers, employers, and support organizations from within the first responder community. The purpose of the event was to identify gaps in the psychological claims management process so that WCB can better prioritize its improvement efforts. Within the newly established WCB Psychological Injury Unit, there were several adjustments made to service delivery in response to customers' feedback. A repository of online therapy options for workers was developed. In collaboration with healthcare services, standardized processes related to addictions counseling were developed. And there was exploration of an opportunity to partner with public safety personnel in the province to pilot the Edmonton Police Services Reintegration Program. And this work was initiated and will continue throughout 2021. Our target was to reduce psychological injury durations by 10%. We ended 2020 at 65 days, which was 1 day below our target of 66 days and 9 days below the baseline of 74. The time from when a claim was registered to when there's a decision on the file decreased to an average of 19 days in 2020 from an average of 31 days in 2019. In 2020, we also initiated our Claims Transformation Initiative, which included a value stream mapping event where the organization completed an end-to-end analysis of our claims processes to identify opportunities for more significant, sustainable improvement in timeliness and quality. Frontline staff, administration, an injured worker and family member, and an employer were involved in the value stream mapping event. We developed a future state vision of what service delivery to our customers will look like in the next 3 to 5 years. All process adjustments will always be viewed through the lens of the attributes that will lead the WCB closer to its future state. As we continue our journey through the Claims Transformation Initiative, the organization will adjust our claims processes to address the gaps that have been identified by customers. Through committee of review and voice of the customer engagements, employer representatives provided feedback that the Saskatchewan WCB should investigate the creation of an internal employer resource center to address gaps in employer supports and to better facilitate an employer's ability to navigate through the workers' compensation system. As a result, the Employer Resource Center was created to provide just-in-time employer support and was publicly launched on September 3rd of 2019. From an employer registration perspective, the time to register employers improved to 75% registered within 5 business days in 2020, with an average processing time of 7.2 days. From 62% registered within 5 business days in 2019, with an average processing time of 10.2 days. We did see a decline in the fourth quarter in the number of applications that were submitted to the office. We saw increased call volumes inquiring about potential business opportunities, but this didn't actually result in an increase in registrations. Another area that we focus on is employer payroll audit quality. So audits completed in 2020 resulted in an overall net adjustment of just over $88,000. 290 audits were conducted in 2020 compared to 745 in 2019, which is due, as was mentioned earlier, to a temporary pause from March to July when COVID hit Saskatchewan. During this time, audits for purposes of issuing refunds were the only ones that were conducted, and the focus was shifted to proactively calling employers to support with payroll revision efforts. Payroll audits in 2020 resulted in premium adjustments for 53% of accounts. This is a decrease of 22% from 2019, where 68% of files had a premium adjustment. The top 3 reasons for adjustments were reporting errors, excess earnings above the maximum assessable level, and non-registered contractors. At this time, I'll now turn it over to Crystal Nett, our CFO, to provide financial highlights. Crystal?
Thank you, Jennifer. Good morning, everyone. It is my pleasure to provide you with our 2020 financial highlights. As Gord mentioned, WCB was in a fully funded position of 112.4% as of December 31st, down from 115% in 2019. There was a significant decline in the 2020 total comprehensive income due primarily to the pandemic and its impact on the economy as well as the investment market, ending the year at a total comprehensive loss of 83 million compared to a total comprehensive income of 170 million in 2019. A new measure for 2020 was the total administration and claims expense per total active number of claims. This resulted in a total cost of $3,564 per active claim for the year, compared to the target of $2,700. Premium revenue is the WCB's main source of revenue, and it's determined by industry payrolls and premium rates. And as you just heard, in 2020, our premium revenue was down by 11.6 million or 4.3% from 2019, ending the year with $256 million. Although average premium rates remain constant at $1.17 per $100 of assessable payroll, there was a 3.2% decrease over the 2019 payroll numbers as a result of the pandemic's impact on Saskatchewan's workforce. Assessable payrolls decreased by 0.7 billion from 22.9 billion in 2019 down to 22.2 billion in 2020. Investment income is the other primary source of revenue for the WCB. And while we had revenue, as you can see, of 77 million, we actually dropped compared to the investment income earned in 2019 of 277 million. The pandemic had a significant impact on the investment returns in 2020. And because of the fact that our investment income is made up of both realized investment earnings and unrealized gains or losses when the fair market value of investment is greater or lesser than the cost, we ended the year with a return of 4%. You can see the statement of operation on your screen, and this statement provides a complete picture of WCB's 2020 actual results compared to the budget and to last year's actual results. I've already covered premiums and investment results, so I'll just provide a few other highlights from this statement. Our total expenses increased by 11% or just under 40 million, going from 360.3 million in 2019 to 401 million in 2020. Contained within that, claim costs comprise 79% of total expenses and account for more than 97% of the overall increase in expenses, going from 281 million to 320 million. Just a brief reminder that claim costs include short-term wage loss, long-term earnings replacement, health care, vocational rehabilitation, claims administration, and the actuarial adjustment to the benefits liabilities. The administration costs increased by 2 million, going from 52 million in 2019 to $54 million in 2020. Within that cost, salaries and employee benefits comprise 70% of total administration expenses and account for most of the increased administration costs. The most other significant administration expenses for amortization of our leaseholds and capital, and that comprised 13% of administration expenses at approximately $9 million. And now I'll just provide a brief overview of our financial outlook for 2021. The budget was developed without knowing the exact impact that the pandemic would have on the Saskatchewan economy or the WCB in 2021. It was also developed without knowing exactly when we would be kicking off the WCB's business transformation program, which Phil will describe in a few moments. When we developed this budget, we used payroll estimates of $23 billion, and premiums were budgeted to increase $10 million over the 2020 actuals. For the expense side, we included an increase in the benefits liabilities of $26 million compared to the 2020 increase of $92 million. Claims paid are projected to increase $24 million. And while there was a significant drop in healthcare payments in 2020 due to treatment program sites being closed for part of the year, we did see an increase, as I just mentioned, in our overall claim costs. For investment income, we budgeted for the long-term average return of 5.25% or $114 million. But as we saw in 2020, the actual investment return can fluctuate quite significantly from year to year. This is evidenced by the 15% return in 2019 versus the -2% return in 2018 and 4% in 2020, with significant volatility throughout the year 2020. I will now turn it back to Phil to provide a bit more information regarding the year ahead and the business transformation program.
Thanks, Crystal. When we look at, for the next slide, we're going to look at is the challenges and opportunities. When we think about the challenges going forward in the short to medium term, it's going to be, we're thinking about how to continue to operate within the COVID-19 pandemic. For example, working from home, continued social distancing for now, the impact of employer closures and or a slower than expected recovery for certain industries, and returning to the workplace protocols. This weekend, I was on a phone call with CEOs from around North America, workers' comp CEOs from across North America, and the whole discussion was about the different approaches or ideas around returning to the workplace and what that might look like and why. Obviously, we also need to look at our financial management. There's a lot of uncertainty around future premiums and claims costs, both of which impact our cash flow. COVID-19 will continue to have a negative impact, like I said, on many claims, just due to continuing challenges of accessing medical supports on a timely basis, and limited opportunities for return to work just due to business closures or, reduced business opportunities. And on the medical side, it's really trying to work through a lot of the backlogs that have happened. There's progress being made, but obviously any delays have a negative impact on people's abilities to recover and return to work. All of these things will come together and potentially drive up claims costs. Of course, market volatility continues to be a challenge, while we're on a significant upswing over the last few months, we never really know what this wild ride in the markets are going to deliver. And then high durations and high numbers of serious injuries. As Kevin pointed out, we continue to have a stubbornly high number of serious injuries and fatalities. We do have our fatalities and serious injury strategy that started in 2019 that is starting to take shape. Elements are being implemented. We're starting to see some progress, but that will take time to fully implement, to learn and figure out what is working, what's not working, any adjustments, and then continuing to move forward. On the opportunity side, it's really kind of similar. It's the different side of the coin. You know, how do we provide supports for employers and injured workers, create that resiliency of staff and management? Our pandemic response has accelerated our innovative thinking, and quite honestly, when I talk to lots of other organizations, safety associations, employers, there's a lot of innovative thinking that got accelerated through the pandemic, and it was kind of a forced learning environment for all of us, and we've learned how to create new standards for service delivery. We're doing things differently, trying to provide options around training and events like this, and customer consults, and you know, we just need to continue to explore that innovation and innovative thinking and figure out how we can do things differently and better. So we are working to determine what our support and development needs are for our workforce now and into the future to be able to meet the evolving expectations of our customers. We're also assessing what a new operating paradigm might look like, and Jennifer has alluded to this in terms of how do we think about effective work disability prevention and return to work. There's been a long-standing model of what they call the medically managed model, and there's a lot of research that's saying that that element, you know, is important, but is it everything that's needed in order to get the best results that we all want? Which leads us to our business transformation program. Today, our customers expect to interact with us in new ways, in ways that work for them, and that means that we must adapt. More than ever, our customers are at the center of our future strategies, and we need to catch up to what they expect from us. And we heard from a couple of different VPs in terms of events where we're now bringing customers into the middle of the events with us to help us problem solve. It's been a very positive experience for management and staff to interact with our customers in that way. WCB's business transformation program is the start of us trying to reimagine how we're going to better serve our customers. It will take staff, management, and our customers and partners on a 5 to 7 year journey where together we will work to reimagine how we deliver our products and services across all areas of the business and then make necessary changes. The end result will be better service for our customers through enhanced processes and technologies. Despite the challenges presented in 2020, the WCB's commitment to the future state of our organization is firm. After completing an independent people, process, and technology review of the WCB's current systems, the WCB developed and launched a high-level roadmap and 5 to 7 year business transformation strategy. The WCB's business transformation program is the start of a transformation that will change how we serve our customers and see the organization invest in the processes, structures, and technologies that will enable us to serve you, our customers, better. The program will take staff, management, and customers and our partners on that 5 to 7 year journey where together we will reimagine how we deliver our products and services. The end result will be better service for our customers through enhanced processes and technologies. We're confident this is going to create a win-win-win-win scenario for workers, employers, partners, and our staff. And although we've heard some inspiring stories over the years about our services, the need for business transformation has been evident from what our customers and staff have been telling us. To validate this, we completed an organization-wide assessment of our current state and worked with staff and customers to determine major gaps. This confirmed our need for change. One of the major objectives of the Business Transformation Program is to modernize WCB customer service delivery. Going forward, the vision of the WCB's customer service delivery model will be more proactive and focused on following the customer's needs from the first interaction through to the final interaction. In the long term, the goal of the Business Transformation Program is to evolve our entire delivery model to support workers and employers and seek to reduce claim costs and lost time, as well as preventing disabilities. WCB will need to better meet customer expectations and capture and analyze data in a much more sophisticated way. The benefits of the Business Transformation Program will include enhanced customer service, providing better web and mobile tools for injured workers and employers, improving return to work outcomes and reducing time loss from work-related injuries, improved claims outcomes, equate to cost savings for employers. And we believe it'll provide better self-serve options for employers and workers. Before I close this portion of my presentation off, I just want to take a moment to recognize Ray Anthony, who will be retiring soon. I want to acknowledge all the great work that Ray did to help workers and employers create a safer workplace in Saskatchewan. It was not an easy job, but one that he did very well and will have a lasting legacy in Saskatchewan. I'd like to wish Ray very well for a well-deserved retirement. Thank you. I think we'll